Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. Before I get to our guest that we have on the show today, I'd like to remind everyone to please give a like and subscribe down below if you enjoy this content. We greatly appreciate it. We have Alex Drachnik on the show with us. She's a nationally qualified competitor. She's coming to us from LOA, and you can also follow her on Instagram. We'll leave the link down below, but most importantly, she's our current guest on the podcast. Alex, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory on what got you into that more healthy and fit lifestyle? What was your reasoning?
Oh man, okay. So I got into the the bodybuilding lifestyle. I used to be a soccer player and I played sports my entire life. And then my senior year of college, I went to San Diego State, so it's a party school. And all within a week, I broke my foot. I got broken up with, and I couldn't play sports. And I was studying for my senior thesis, all within like a week. So I, binge drank, binge ate, just like enjoying my senior year. And I gained a ton of weight. And I didn't really like complain about it much to anyone. I just remember one day I woke up, looked in the mirror and was like, nope, we need to do something about this. Right. And so San Diego State has a lot of very attractive fit people. And there was this one girl at the gym who had just done a bodybuilding competition. And I was like instantly inspired because she looked amazing. And at first I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a competition, but I realized the only way I was going to get in shape was to have an end goal because I'm an athlete. I'm a natural athlete, so I'm competitive. So I spent months researching coaches, like if I can do this, how expensive it is, blah, 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 like if this was right for me. And so I promised myself, like right when I graduated college and I was done drinking, binge drinking, I would start and try to do my first bodybuilding competition. And then that was about like 2.5 years ago. And I haven't stopped since. It's been the best decision ever.
What position did you play in soccer?
I played either mid or I was a striker. I love soccer. I played that for like 12 years. And then in college, like end of high school and like community college, I was a water polo player and a diver.
Ooh, okay. We're going to have a water polo segment now for like 2 minutes because that is one of the most interesting sports to me that like no one ever talks about.
Oh
so what got you into playing water polo? I mean, that's one of those sports too where you hear about it, but you never know someone who plays it. So for you in particular, what got you into that?
Oh my gosh. Like any sport that has to have any sort of physical contact, like I may look very nice, but like, we all get kind of like angry inside. And the only way I could get my anger out and like stress out is I play like sports. So soccer was fun because it was like you can attack people kind of and run around. But water polo, like you have to tread water for 8 minutes. Like I forgot how many quarters are. It's been a while, but man, it just felt good like drowning people and being aggressive and like, oh my God. And I was a whole set and I'm kind of small. So when I tell people I was a whole set, it's the person that's in the middle and they're the one that gets the ball and like makes the goal. And you got to be pretty big, but I was small, but I still like made goals. And I remember in community college, I hadn't played water polo in a couple of years. And my first game, I scored 8 goals in a row. And everyone was like, what the heck? I was like, I don't know. I just had a good day. It was like one of the best years of sports.
That sport does require such a good deal, especially like back strength and everything. I mean, you're treading water, like you said, for like 8 minutes and you're still able. I never did get how those athletes were able to then even jump up in the water still and just score. It's one of those sports where if it's on during the Olympics, I always got to give it a watch. But when you were getting started in your fit journey, I always like to make the analogy that if you were to walk into a gym with like 100 people in it, you're going to have 100 different opinions. You're going to have 100 different ways that people got fit, 100 different exercises, how many reps you do, what your nutrition was like. Was that hard for you starting out to sort of find out what worked best for you? Because like I said, everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah, it kind of was because even though I was a natural athlete my entire life, I never was required to go to the gym. So I kind of just did what I saw people do. I was like, oh, they're doing this. I don't know. I didn't really know. So that's why I hired a coach instantly. Like I was not about to do this myself. So so I do glutes 3 days a week. And let me tell you right now, when my coach first gave me hip thrusts, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like it did take me a couple months to like actually do them correctly, even though I told her I was doing them. Like I didn't do them all the time because I was embarrassed. I was like, what is this? And now I'm like, hip thrusts, I do those like 5 times a week and y'all are jealous. Like it's so different now.
So at what point in your journey did you kind of say like, hey, I really think I could compete? We have a lot of people on here that say that like it was either someone came up to him in the gym and was like, hey, you look great. You should really compete. What was your backstory in deciding to compete?
It was honestly from the beginning. when I wanted to get in shape, I knew I wouldn't do it unless I had like a goal in mind. I'm a very like set goal type of person. And back in the day, my parents used to make fun of me because I would try everything out and I would never actually like stick to it. And so like I work in the film industry in LA and I've been doing photos and videos forever. And that's the one thing I stuck with. But like sports, I kept like going from sport to sport to sport. So like this was finally a chance for me to find something and like stick with it and like prove to everyone. And also, it wasn't the people like parading me or whatever. It was the people that are like, you're doing bodybuilding. Okay. And then I was like, oh, you don't believe me? Watch me,
Absolutely. And it is one of those things too, where I've had so many guests on that have talked about, it's not a normal thing that I think society-wise. I mean, a lot of people do it. When it came down to like your friends and family, what were their main reactions to it when you told them that I'm gonna get really big in the gym or I want to really start working out a lot? What was their main reaction?
My parents are the most supportive people in the world. I remember I was at sushi with them and I was like, hey guys, guess what? I've decided I'm going to be a bodybuilder. And they're like, what? And I showed them and they're like, whatever. And they love it. They've been to 2 of my shows. They just came to my most recent show. I did the Olympia Amateur and they love it. They love like the whole process. They think it's so fascinating. So, yeah. And then my friends, they were excited until I told them I couldn't drink as much anymore. And they're like, oh, and I was like, guys, I'm still fun. I swear. I was like, trust me, let me do this. And then afterwards we can all celebrate and then I'll do it again. And they're like, oh, okay.
I've always said if anyone can come up with like an alcoholic protein drink that you could like serve, that would be a multi-billion-dollar idea that you would become like the next Elon Musk if you're able to come up with a protein alcoholic thing that like you could get rid of all the alcohol so it wouldn't stay in your system and it would just be, that would be, so anyone out there, I came up with the patent for it, so I'm going to sue you if you come up with this after this thing comes out. Absolutely.
Same, I feel like I get a cut from it.
Oh yeah, she gets a cut, absolutely. Yeah, she's by association, she absolutely gets a cut. So one of the big myths that we love to bust on this show is people don't realize that when you're working out, you're going to need to eat a lot more than you ate even before you started working out. Even for people that were overweight, they sometimes got to eat a lot more before they started working out. So what was that experience like for you, knowing that you had to eat more? Was that a difficult adjustment for you, or was it just a thing that you just took in stride?
It actually wasn't difficult because I knew I was overeating. So when my coach gave me, my macros and my calories, it was nice to follow this plan. It was actually a little harder because I was eating less than I had before. And it took me a while to understand that you need to eat like foods that fill you up more. Like I was still eating protein bars a lot and like those don't fill you up. And it's taken me until most recently that like I fill up all my carbs with vegetables because they fill you up forever and like I eat whole foods. But I didn't really have an issue at the beginning eating a lot. It was just, to me, it was eating less. So, but I knew that because I already had a pretty good foundation when I started since I had been an athlete forever. So like it was the process of cutting down.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. And when it came down to your first prep, what was that experience like? Because like you said, you had a pretty good nutritional thing back before you had that senior year incident. But like everyone who I've always had in the thing says, you could have the best nutrition of all time, but when you get into prep, that's just a whole nother different beast that you have to deal with. What was that experience like for you for the first time?
Well, actually, my nutrition has been horrible my entire life, actually. Yeah. So getting on prep was actually like the first time that I've actually started eating really well. Like right before I got my coach, I started like pretending to know what I'm doing, but I had no idea what macros were. Getting on prep was easy. No, was not easy. It was hard because I thought like, oh, I eat my meal prep meals and I can still enjoy a cupcake. That's not how it works. You have to enjoy your meal prep meals and that's all you get. I didn't really get it at first either because I was dating a guy. And so we would still like go out and like, it was both of our first times. Like, you're a bodybuilder now? And I'm like, I don't know. And then we broke up and my coach always says, she goes, man, right when you broke up, it clicked. Like I lost so much weight and it wasn't from being sad. It was just because I like had something to focus on. You break up and you're like, focus on that one thing to get through a breakup. And she was like, you had major improvement once that happened. And then it started clicking. Did
you find that early on in your training, your body adjusted really, really well early on, or did it take more of a process? Because we have a lot of people, it's sort of a mixture for some of us, for some of our guests. Either they got really, really good at it really, really quickly, or it was more of a process. What was your overall experience?
Mine was definitely a process. My body responded well instantly. And then I had a horrible plateau for a while because I would keep because when I was at a certain amount of calories, this always happens every prep I've done, 1,600 calories is really hard because if you eat 100 calories more, you're already overeating, you know? And it's that weird mark. And I was at that mark for like 7 or 8 weeks eating that, and my body didn't change. And then as soon as you drop it lower, it started adjusting a little bit more. But there's always like this weird middle part my body has an issue with. So, and especially my legs, I hold all my weight and my water in my legs. So those take forever to cut down.
And I've always said if you polled the entire general population, you'd probably get only about 2 or 3% that would actually be willing to go on stage and showcase sort of what they had. Was that a difficult thing for you to sort of convince yourself to go up on stage in front of everyone? Or like some other guests that we've had who just say, you know what, screw it, I've worked my tail off to look this way, I'm going to show it off. What was that like for you?
Well, I love being, I guess, in the spotlight. You know, I love being behind the camera, but I also love being in front of the camera. So I like being on stage. It was very nerve-wracking at first though, because I hadn't been on stage for anything in a while. I used to do like some theater shows, and I played something in a band one time. So I've been on stage before, but walking on stage in a little bikini and heels, I think the most terrifying thing for me was walking in the heels. Like, I'm going to trip, I'm going to fall, and everyone's going to laugh, and I'm going to place last. You know, that was probably the most terrifying part. But the moment I went up there, all I remember is I like blacked out. I just remember walking up, doing my thing, and then I was posing by the side, and I was like, did I just do that? What just happened? Like, my body was shaking.
And when it comes down to posing, was that difficult for you?
Yes. Oh my God. Posing is the hardest thing about bodybuilding next to nutrition. I kid you not. Posing is so hard. I still look at some of my old posing videos and they make me cringe. They're so bad. They're so bad. Posing's just hard because, you know, you have to be fluid with your motion, which is why the pros always take so long to get where they are, or some of them are gifted naturally, you know, but oh man, posing has been a rough one for me, but I'm a lot better now.
Well, it's one of those things like people don't realize, like you have to flex literally everything in your body. There's not just one thing that you showcase or whatever. You have to literally have from your head to your toe, you have to be flexing everything and you have to get the perfect angle. That's why people are always like, why does it take so you always see these people, they're like, yeah, those are easy poses. I can always do them. I'm doing that. It's like, yeah, you could do them maybe like for one photo where you have like a perfect angle or whatever like that, but it has to be like muscle memory. You have to have it completely memorized down in order for it to be good. And that's just a rough process for a lot of people. And what was your experience like wearing those heels that they make you wear?
What I would do is I would actually wear them around my house, and then I got little boot heels. And so instead of wearing like boots, I'd wear boot heels everywhere, even though I lived in San Diego for my first show. I was like, cool, I'm wearing boot heels to the beach, like just to like practice, because I was a very, very tomboy person. So I never wore heels a lot. You know, I'd only wear them for like fancy things. So that was another thing, is when I told people I was doing bodybuilding competitions, no one believed that I would, this boy, you know, this tomboy would go on stage. But now I'm like girlier than I've ever been. So it's changed me a lot.
One of the things that I always love to ask too, I mean, I'm a super pale person myself. What was that like the first time putting that tan on? I mean, it's one of those things that we just don't seem to understand what that's about, because everyone sees that and then they're like, oh, they look so great, but they don't understand what goes on behind the scenes when you put that on. But what was that first experience like? Because like everyone always says they see muscles they never knew they had. What was that experience like for you?
I mean, I knew, you know, about the tan going in, because I was like, oh my God, you get a tan. That's crazy. I think the weirdest part for me was you go into a room full of like a bunch of naked girls. Like, luckily when you're a bodybuilder, like literally after you get tanned with a bunch of naked girls and then go on stage, you kind of like, you know, have this crazy confidence and you really don't care about that anymore. But like when I first went in, I was like, okay, everyone's doing it. Like, it was interesting. Getting the tan was cool, but my first competition, my tan wasn't dark enough, and that is why I didn't place. And I didn't know I wasn't dark enough. Even my coach didn't realize until we saw the comparison photos at the end, and we're like, and the worst is I got placed 6th. And if I would have, you know, if I would have, like, my tan was darker, I probably would have been nationally qualified my first show. But you live and you learn.
It's one of those things too with the whole tanning thing that was the most shocking thing for me to hear too, is that you're basically naked and then you go and get your tan. When I first heard that, I was like, what? I was like, what? That's legal? Like they have you guys actually do that? But then after everyone kept telling me that, I was like, oh, so I guess that actually is a thing. I was like, oh, well, you know, I guess whatever they do. But yeah, tanning, I mean, it's not as much as everyone makes it out to be. I mean, like a lot of people say you can't really like sit down, you can't really move around too much to worry about like getting it off. So it can be a hassle, but it does make everything look good. But I have a lot of up and coming bands, and I asked them what it's like performing live, what that thrill is like, and I think that also applies to, you know, competitors as well. What is that feeling like when you step on stage and it's a roaring crowd and all these people, like your family's coming here to see you, and a lot of people are having such a positive response? What is that feeling like when you step on stage?
Oh man, it feels so good. Like the first show, I was really nervous, and then I honestly don't really remember being on stage that well. But I remember my second show, I was so excited to just go on stage again. I remember being the most confident person ever. Like some of these girls in line are like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like the person who's like, "Come on, guys, we're all here. Like we worked super hard. Let's just have a good time." And they're like, "Yeah," and I'm like dancing awkwardly in line. You know, I'm like, "Woo!" Like. And I just remember like confidence is a big factor to being judged. So when I went on stage, I just remember like strutting my stuff. And my most recent shows, I did 2 back to back. I added in a hair flip because I was like,
Ooh.
a hair flick. And honestly, I'm pretty sure it helped my placings a lot because it was the greatest feeling when I did it. I walked on stage and I like turned and I did my hair flick and I was like, oh, and like, even when I posted that video, everyone was like, dude, the hair flick. And I was like, right. And that was at North Americans, in Pittsburgh. But I like, the feeling of being on stage is just, it's a rush. Like you're not on there for that long, but it just feels so good to be like, I did all of this and I'm on stage and it just, feels good.
My perfect show or my perfect performance with me, I've never done a competition, but if I ever did one, I mean, I would just sneak some pyrotechnics in the back, some fireworks to just go off as soon as I came on stage. I would do the thing where I'd be like, oops, I dropped a $1 bill, and then I'd like bend over and show it. Yep, you gotta do that. You gotta show them what you're made of. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where just people, I always encourage if anyone wants to ever have that experience, whether it just comes to singing karaoke at a bar or just doing something in front of a crowd of people that is appreciated. It's one of the best feelings you can ever get. Like a lot of the musicians describe it as a drug unlike any other, and trust me, a lot of them have taken a lot of drugs, so they would know. So it's one of those things where it's such a great high, and it's really just a great feeling.
It's like a high. It's like, it's hard to explain until you do something on stage, you know? Like even as you said, doing karaoke, like if you have a good support system too, they'll make you feel amazing when you're up there, like no matter what you're doing. So
absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And what is your go-to after show meal?
Oh, okay. So someone from California, my go-to is a California burrito and a nice cold IPA. And if you don't know what a California burrito is, it is a burrito with French fries in it.
Oh my God.
It's my go-to.
I had a brother that lived in LA for a year, and he just came back. We're all the way up in Minnesota, and he never told me about that. So I'm gonna have to go and ask him and be like, "Hey, we got to definitely get those up here because we don't have. We just have Taco Bell. We are really screwed out when it comes to the Mexican food department. We definitely need more of that flavor up here."
California burrito is actually more of a San Diego thing. So I used to live in San Diego because it's right there by Mexico. Oh, but yeah, that was the thing. And then when I was in Pittsburgh, I couldn't have a California burrito. But in Pittsburgh, they're famous for Primanti Bros, which is literally sandwiches with French fries in it. I was just like, this is meant to be.
No, yeah, the only thing that we have here are like Juicy Lucy's, which is basically hamburgers with the cheese cooked inside the meat.
What?
Yeah. So it's like the cheese is inside the meat. So like when you eat it, the cheese literally comes out of the meat it's unlike it's very, very great. It's only one place that ever cooks it, and it's just like one little restaurant. But I've went there and I've tried it. It is absolutely to die for. But now on a more serious topic, I mean, one of the questions that I really think needs to be addressed that a lot of people don't talk about is that people don't realize when you guys are at your shows and in your competitions, people don't realize you've manipulated your body through all the dieting and working out into looking a certain way, and that look is not sustainable. People see you guys and some of them think like, oh, they must look like that year round. They just must be jacked and shredded all year round. That is definitely not the case. I mean, we've had people on here that have said that within hours after their show, they had put on some weight and that it's not sustainable. At most, you could maybe keep that for maybe even a few days afterwards. And then you are going to eventually gain weight. So mentally, how do you deal with that knowing that, hey, this is the best I'm going to look for a while, and that no matter how much of the hard work I've done, I am going to gain weight? How do you deal with that?
Oh, man. It was hard. After my last show, not the 2 recent ones, but the one like a year ago, I gained a lot of weight back just because like I went straight back into eating without tracking, and like I didn't track anything, and that was hard. And then when I started cutting again, I was like, oh my God, I made myself a promise. I was like, okay, when I'm done with my most recent shows, I need to like I don't reverse diet. I go straight back to my maintenance calories, but I need to track them because what I was doing is I was not tracking anything and that was bad. But I need to have balance. So how I deal with it is like during prep, I try to document and like just enjoy what I have right now because it is not sustainable. Like I can't have a full on visible 8-pack walking around every day or I would like have no energy. But you can have abs and you can sustain something if you like balance it right. So I like seriously promised myself, I was like, you are going to stick to your diet, but it's going to be fun. I do if it fits your macros. So I can fit foods, like whatever I want. And then I give myself like one day a week to have, some alcohol and get a cheat meal in. So like yesterday I went out to a brewery with friends and I went out to brunch. And so like I kind of tracked some of that. And then I, had made sure to get my protein in for the rest of the day. And like I woke up this morning and my abs are still there. Oh my God. You know what I mean? So it's just all about balance. It took me, 2.5 years to really understand though, that like you do need to stick to your macros. They do work, but have fun with it. I have chocolate chip protein waffles for breakfast like every day. I love them. And like I had them all the way up to my show. So it is doable. You just have to like mentally prepare yourself. And it is really hard. So I'm really lucky to have like a coach that like is there to be like, look, we're going to do this together. And I'm like, all right, here we go.
One of the things too that people don't talk about a lot is stress. Stress can be a huge thing when it comes to weight gain. I remember back in my college days, if I knew in like a few weeks time there's going to be a pool party, I was like, okay, I got to do my crunches. I got to get my abs looking good. It wouldn't matter because if I was super stressed about it, sometimes I would just come in looking pudgy, even though I had committed myself to looking a lot better. How do you sort of deal with that too? Because it's kind of a double-edged sword because you are going to be stressed about the way your body looks because you're doing a bodybuilding show, but you can't be stressed about it because then that might affect the way your body looks. So that's kind of can seem like a never-ending cycle. How do you deal with that?
Well, I am a classic stress case, if that helps. I am the worst. Like I literally stress about everything and not in a bad way. I just like, I'm an over planner. Like I have to plan everything out ahead of time just because my schedule is so busy. And basically I have to like tell myself to like, Alex, just like sit down and don't do anything. Like you can relax and like, it's hard, but like, I mean, that's what you got to do.
So do they drug test you for your competition?
So the NPC, which is the National Physique Committee, that is the bodybuilding committee. They do not drug test. And I'm just going to say right now, a lot of people do performance enhancement drugs and they can do whatever they want. There is like a separate category. I think it's the PNBA or something. And that is a natural bodybuilding and they do drug test you. But the competition is like, I hate to say it, but like they take the NPC more seriously than they'll take that one. Like if you can be a professional in the natural bodybuilding world very easily and versus like NPC is so hard to be a professional bodybuilder. It is so hard.
Well, NPC, don't they only test the winners?
No, they don't test anyone.
I heard that they tested the winners, and I was like, well, because that would be super embarrassing. Like if you took stuff and then you still lost and you didn't even get to get tested.
Nope.
Then. Yeah.
If they tested the winners, none of those people would be pros. I mean, I don't know what guys take, but come on.
Well, yeah, guys are taking like bull testosterone or something like that. Who knows what
right?
Who knows what? I mean, the ladies are taking stuff too, but who knows what those guys are taking? Good God, some of those guys are just taking like beef injections, like that they give those cows. That's what I heard from someone was saying that they take, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I know a lot of girls, like especially for bikini, you don't need to take anything.
Oh, yeah.
A lot, like a majority of girls are all natural, which is really self-promoting, like yay, natural, good job, I'm all natural, just so everyone
which is
knows,
why I think a lot of people are attracted to that too, is because you don't really need to take stuff to look good, whereas other people, but like I always say, to each their own. If you want to take stuff, more power to you. It's like I wouldn't personally do it, but do what you got to do, and I mean, people don't realize even if you take stuff, you still got to put in the work. It's still a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I don't judge. Like people do whatever they want. Like that's great. But people think like, oh, if I do steroids, I'll just get big. No, that's not how it works. You still have to work out.
Yes, absolutely. And now, at what point in your journey did you decide to help out other people when it came to training?
I guess that's a very more recent thing. Within the last year, I've just been like finally understanding and getting the idea that like, oh, this is a lifestyle and not just like a one-time thing. And recently a lot of people have been like messaging me and texting me and like, hey, do you have any advice? Blah, blah, blah. And I started to realize, I'm like, well, I don't want to give out all this free advice. Like it took me forever to get here. So I started like helping some of my friends out, giving them suggestions, but then it gets to the point where they just like don't really get it. Like I'm like, oh, my favorite question is like, what do you eat in a day? And I'm like, I can't really answer that because I eat everything. And they're like, well, how can you look like that if you eat everything? And I'm like, ugh. So the first thing I do for everyone is I send them to this website called ifitfitsyourmacros.com because it literally explains it for dummies. Like if you have no idea what a macro is, you go to that website and it explains it like you get it, you know. They have this amazing PDF too that I literally send to everyone. I'm just like, here. I'm honestly should be like a sponsor for them, but
if it fits your macros out here, I'll send them a link. Make sure we can give her as a sponsor, giving her a shout out right now.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah,
I don't remember
that's basically how it works. And now being as a trainer, one of the biggest, or helping out others, one of the biggest myths, probably the biggest myth that we love to bust is that people, or especially women, but it has gotten better the last 5 years, they think that if they touch one weight, they're going to turn into Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson overnight. They think they're going to turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's ridiculous, but I know that you probably have gotten this question asked so many times, but what is your main response to them when they ask that?
Well, usually people ask me too. They're like, are you looking to get any bigger than you are now? I was like, dude, I have been trying to get big for 2.5 years. I'm still tiny. Yeah. Like people think like, you know, once you do a bodybuilding show, you're just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. And it's like, it depends on your category. As a bikini bodybuilder, I'm probably going to stay this size. I'm just going to like, you know, maybe, you know, increase shoulders a little bit and like stuff, but I'm never going to get like huge. Like to get there takes forever. I always tell people, I'm like, it takes so long. I was like, honestly, to get that big, you will have to do like performance enhancement drugs, or you're going to have to train for like 30 years and maybe you'll get a little bit bigger, you know? Plus you need to eat food to get bigger, you see? Like, and I eat maintenance calories. So I'm going to stay this way and just grow muscle on top of it. You know, that's just how it works.
We're going to bust this myth in 5 seconds. Can you give us a flex? And I was going to say, does she look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Does she look like the Hulk? Yeah. Really? Yeah, really? Come on, guys. Does she look like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or the Hulk? No, and she's been working out for that long? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, those puppies right there. Yeah, and she's in great shape. So I always like to say that, too. It's like, our guests, when they do that, it's like, none of them look like the Hulk or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and it just takes so much more. There's so much more to it that a lot of people don't get, and I always love to tell the story of, I had a really good friend in college. That's when I really started getting serious with my health and fitness, and she would always say, like, you know, I really want to come with you to the gym, but I'm just afraid I'm going to get bulky. I'm afraid I'm going to, you know, put on muscle. And eventually, I kept trying to convince her she wouldn't want to come, but eventually I said, look, the amount of weight that your purse weighs when you take it out when we go to clubs or whatnot weighs more than a lot of the dumbbells in the gym, and you are not gaining any muscle from carrying that purse around. And she's like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. So then she started to go in, and she started to, you know, adapt that, and she got a lot healthier, and I really, really think that was a great thing. And it's one of those things where I always say, it's just one of those things where once you try it, all the myths go away. It's all about just taking that first step. That's just what everyone needs to do. They just need to take that first step in the gym and realize, you know, all the myths are wrong. And then another big one is that everyone, well, especially women, also think that there's just these big 400-pound guys in there that are just going to be real intimidating and just be mean to them and like discourage them. And I always tell them with that, people don't realize 99% of the people in there don't even know you exist because they're too busy focusing on themselves.
Yes. Oh my God. It's so true. Like I go to Gold's Gym in Venice, the bodybuilding gym. Yeah. I go to the gym that's like intimidating. Yeah. And like when I start getting in my zone to work out, I literally forget everyone's around. And then I look, and then sometimes I'll pause and look around, and I'm like, because sometimes I do still feel a little like, am I being judged? But then you have to, exactly what you said, like everyone's in their own zone. Like, you know, and then sometimes when people do talk to me, these giant big guys are like the best dudes in the world. They're like, I'll make like a joke or something about some dumbbell. I'm like, oh, is that 5-pounder yours? Or they're like, yeah, that's how I get all the muscles. You know, like you just gotta like joke around. But I do understand where people do get intimidated. I remember when I first started working out at World Gym in San Diego, I was doing an exercise like a little off because it was new to me. And I did have someone come up to me and be like, hey, can I correct your form? And it was really nice of him, and I really appreciate it. But I was also a little embarrassed because then I was like, oh God, everyone's judging me. Like, I don't know how to work out. So that, you know, I could see how that could be intimidating.
I had the one unfortunate experience where I happen to be the brother of the best quarterback in our high school's history, and he was a senior when I was a freshman. So going into weights for the summer before freshman year, everyone was looking at, oh, what's Nolan Johnson's little brother going to do in the weight room, because he's got to be the next big thing. And I wasn't even a quarterback. I played tight end, so it was just let's look at him and see what he does. So I had that unfortunate experience, but it was one of those things too where my brother had a lot of nice friends that really helped me out too. So I kind of realized, just get in there and do your thing. And like you said before, I've had some of the biggest people in the world kind of on this show, and they're some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. They are so nice and so kind. And I think a lot of it too is because they do tell me that they feel that they have to project a lot more of a nicer personality in order for people to kind of put their guard down. But then just naturally too, they're so nice, and they're some of the most open-minded people you'll ever meet. And they're just great people to go and ask questions to. But I always tell everyone, don't go, if like they're doing bench, do not go up and ask them a question when they're in mid-set. That's the one no-no. Make sure that they are like done with their set. Make sure that they're taking a breather. Cause I have had that happen, or I have never had that happen to me, but I've seen people in the gym do that. And even when they're about to go do it, I was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. They're like benching, and they're like going up and asking them a question. I was like, why would you do that?
Yes.
But
I've had the most unfortunate one. I was hip thrusting, and some guy thought it was a good idea to hit on me, and I was not in the mood. And as I said, I kind of have a temper sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I looked at him and I was like, really? You think I'm going to give you my number now? Like, get out of here. He was like, oh, I was like, dude, no. Like,
yeah, absolutely. It's a whole different topic on proper gym etiquette. It's one of those things that I think you should need to take a class before you go to a gym on basically gym etiquette, and you need to pass that. It's just like your driver's test, I think. It's one of those things. But my favorite question, or two of my favorite questions that I always ask too as well, is that one of the things that I realized when I started working out and getting bigger, probably the one unfortunate thing for me is that you're going to get asked to move a lot of people's furniture. You're going to get asked to open a lot of pickle jars. You're going to get asked to do so many things to help out people. Have you dealt with a lot of that stuff, and how do you deal with it?
Let me tell you a funny one. So one time, one of my friends stayed with us for a month, and she had a bunch of boxes in her car, and it was me and my other roommate. And she walked in, and she goes, "Hey, I have boxes in my car. Alex, can you just help me move all of them?" And literally, my roommate looked at both of us. She goes, "Really?" Just because she lifts weights. She goes, I go to the gym too. And I was dying. I was like, did you just ask me because I'm a bodybuilder? But it's actually the opposite, because I am a girl. Mm-hmm. And for those that don't know, I work in the film industry, which is heavily male. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm on set, even though I'm a strong girl, the guys still don't ask me to move stuff. And I look at them and I go, you realize I'm a bodybuilder. I could probably lift more.
This is bullshit, by the way.
And I know it's happened so many times. Even when I'm on set, I work in the camera department, which is always dudes, and you're lifting heavy cameras. I have been mistaken as like the makeup lady or like the hair lady so many times. Like, oh, hair and makeup's over there. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm going over there. Like, so actually, I'll get asked by friends a lot, like, oh, can you help me move stuff? And I'm like, fine. But when I'm on film sets though, like I get overlooked a lot. And then I come up to them, I'm like, hey, I'm a bodybuilder. And then the producers will take note, and then they'll always send me out to lift with the guys because they know now.
Well, next time they say like hair and makeup's that way, you'd be like, no, I was looking for the gym actually. Do you know where it's at? Yeah. That's a good one that I always give out a little bit of advice like that. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those things where every weekend during the summer, I have to, either someone's moving or someone's like, hey, we need you to lift a couch. We need you to lift a chair. I've gotten used to it. Or even today, my dad's opening a pickle jar. Hey, Ryan, come over and help me open up this pickle jar. I was like, oh, thanks, Dad. And then just stuff like that. I mean, you get used to it, but I used to work at Amazon in the warehouse. So every 100-pound package, they used to nickname me Muscles. So they'd say, go over and get Muscles, get him to come over here and pick it up. So I would be just dead. I would barely be even able to work out, but you get used to it, and you do really appreciate it, because I always think of it kind of as a thing too. It's like people are recognizing, and they recognize your hard work though too then. Yes. So it's one of those things where I hate to do it, but at the same time, I appreciate when people ask me to do it. But one of the things another multi-million-dollar idea that I like to say, if anyone has an idea of out there, to definitely get on it. When it comes to especially women who are bigger overall, the clothing options are very limited. When it comes to women with muscles, I mean, like I always say, if you have big traps or big shoulders, you can't buy a dress. You're basically out of luck. Or especially with jeans. Jeans is the big thing that I've heard for ladies, because it's just one of those things. How do you compensate for the fact that your clothing options are limited?
Well, yes and no. So I have bigger hips, which is very annoying back in the day because when I didn't know it was from food, I was a size large and everything, and it was just like, ugh. I don't really wear blue jeans much anymore. I wear like black jeans and whatnot, but I've learned to I wear a lot of sports clothing, or I wear a lot of like crop tops with like, I don't know, higher waisted pants instead of lower waisted stuff. But also going back to the dress thing, I remember one time I was an extra on this film I was working on. I was working on crew, but they needed extra people. And I remember I put a dress on and they're like, oh, so this is what a bodybuilder looks like in a dress. And I was like, I am not. I'm putting a jacket on. Like, because it was so obvious. It was just like,
So now, before we get to our question that we do at the end, I got to ask, because you are the first person that we've had in film, and I'm just a huge fan. Are there any projects that you've worked on that are like some big movies that we would know of?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, I shouldn't be saying this, but I will anyway. I worked 3 days on the new Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like 10 feet away from Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Margot Robbie. Quentin Tarantino sat behind me at dinner. It was the most unreal day of my entire life. It was 3 days, actually. Unreal. Unreal. Like, so basically the scene I was working on was, when the movie comes out, you guys will all see this. They decorated like 8 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard for the 60s, and they blocked off 8 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard in the middle of July. So they needed the extra hands. It was insane, like crazy. And so it was a scene, I think, where like Brad Pitt was like racing down the street. And so there's thousands of paparazzi and like tourists watching. It was pretty cool. So I was like blocking them off. But Brad Pitt's like facing me and waving at like the audience behind me. And I'm like, Brad Pitt's waving at me. This is cool. And then I was brought on for an additional day. And I got to like work a smaller day with like closer people. And I just remember going to dinner and I hear this guy like yelling really loud behind me about something. And I turn around and I'm like, my back is up against Quentin Tarantino's back and he has headshots. Like, it was unreal. So that was like one of the coolest things I've done in Hollywood.
That is unbelievable. I got to ask, I'm a huge Margot Robbie fan. Is she as good looking in person as she is in TV?
Yes. And it's even worse because when she showed up to set, she had just like short hair. She's wearing blue jeans and like a black top with like no makeup on. And I was like, you're still like the hottest person in the world. Okay. That's awesome.
And I've had 2 Australians on, and just that accent alone though too is just...
I know, yeah. So I never got to like talk to any of these people, but just seeing them.
And when it came down, what really piqued your interest in film when you were growing up? Did you always want to be involved in movies?
Yeah, so I like my dad. My parents are engineers, but my dad has always had cameras in the house because he does photography as a hobby. And so when I was about like 13, I started making like YouTube videos, and this was back in the day. I'm kind of dumb. I made YouTube videos. I got pretty big on YouTube, and then I went to high school and I completely stopped making YouTube videos, and that's when it got big. And then I recently started my YouTube channel again. I had to start completely over, which is why I have like no followers. And now I'm like, I've like missed the mark. And I always am like, that's my one regret is I had a huge following. And then I just went to high school and was like, I don't need YouTube.
Link down below for her new YouTube channel, by the way. She has some really good content. Everyone go and like and subscribe her stuff. She's really, really good at what she does. And when it comes down to sort of, like you said, your dad's background in photography, did that really help you out with Instagram, like finding all the right angles and all the lighting? Was that kind of ingrained in you when you were young?
Yeah, so like we did photography together all the time. I actually joined Instagram right when it started, and then like it was one of those things where like I made an account, no one had it, so then I like didn't do anything with it, and then 30 days later I went back on and everyone's like, we have Instagram now. I was like, sweet. But I didn't start promoting more of this like health and fitness balanced lifestyle on Instagram until like more recently. But yeah, I've done photography forever, but I've always film's been my main thing, but I do photos on the side. So like, yeah, I have that eye for it. I love just doing digital content. It's super fun for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now we go to our audience favorite part, and my favorite part personally, a little questionnaire that we like to do where I'm going to ask Alex here about a dozen or so questions and see how her answers sort of stack up to everyone else we've had on the show. So for our first question, what is your go-to workout song at the moment?
Ooh, it's that new Halsey song that's really sad. Okay, that's not a good answer.
So are you like crying while like you're doing like lat pull downs and stuff like that? You're just like, oh no.
I think that's my go-to like song right now. But my go-to song, what is it? Oh my God, it's that Cardi B song where it's like Big Bank.
Oh yeah.
Big Bank. Yeah, that song. I love listening to hip hop and rap when I work out because it makes me feel super gangster.
I am so old school where I gotta have like my Metallicas and Iron Maidens playing. Where especially like when I was just talking about lat pull downs, I gotta wait for the beat to drop. So like sometimes I'll be in the gym and I'll just be like waiting 20 seconds for my headphones for my beat to drop, and everyone's like, "What is this guy doing?" Just waiting, and then all of a sudden as soon as it drops, she's gone. Oh yeah, you gotta time it perfectly to get all the momentum and everything. So yeah, that's been that's
the only one that did that. That's hilarious.
Thankfully there's another person because you're the first person that finally admitted that they do that too. So we have that in common. So thankfully, because I didn't want to be the one guy who's just like, okay, what's this guy doing? But now this is a question that I think would be especially good for you. Out of all the celebrities on the planet, who is one that you would personally want to work out with?
Ooh, honestly, I would love to work out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He would be, are you kidding me? He's like the coolest dude in the world, and just working out with him, I'd be like, can you just lift me up today? Like, that would be
I was like, do you need someone to hang on to you while you do pull-ups or something like that?
Dude, it would just be, we would probably create the coolest video if I ever worked out with him. Yeah. That would be awesome.
And that, I gotta say, you're probably like our 30th health and fitness guest, and he has been the answer 25 of the times. Like, absolutely. I don't know how he does it, because like he'll get up at like 3 a.m. every day and like work out. He's almost like Mark Wahlberg, except a lot bigger. But just in his workout though, and his stuff that he eats, it's like all asparagus, it's all this stuff. I just don't, he has such a great motivation, and all the movies that he's able to make too while doing that. I don't get how he does it. It's one of those things where for him, I don't know if he has 24 hours in the day. He must just maybe have like a secret deal to have like 27 or 28. I mean, I don't know how he does it.
Can you give me some more?
Yeah, I don't get, I personally do not understand how that man can do it.
He's a paid actor too.
Oh, and he has some very good movies too. Like, I'm a huge, and dude, the guy was a wrestler too. I mean, it's like, what kind of a, like, and he played college football too at Miami. So it's like, he's lived the life, and he still has that greatest picture, that fanny pack photo of him is still the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's great.
So now, out of all the celebrities on the planet as well, what is one celebrity that you would want to train?
Oh, someone I'd want to train? Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. I'm still like pretty new to the training world. Ooh. I mean, I guess train, but does that make it seem like I'm calling them fat?
No, but like maybe if they had like a movie role coming up and they're like, oh, can you train me for that? Like, our most popular answer is Kevin Hart. Like, everyone says, like, if we could train someone, it would be like Kevin Hart.
Oh no, I know who I would do. Jennifer Aniston, 100%. I get, back in the day, I used to get, sometimes I looked a little like her from Friends because the way my hair is. I used to get it a little bit, so I would love to train with her. She hasn't been in a movie in a while.
My goal with all of this, if I could get her on this, I would just stop. I would stop doing whatever I do.
You're done.
And life goal. I've announced this November 19th. If you've ever seen Friends, which obviously you have, the lady who played Ross's first wife, the lesbian,
yes,
she's coming on because she's doing a charity, and I messaged her and I said, like, hey, I really want you to come on, talk about your charity. Would you want to be coming on and, doing a podcast with us? And she said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, you do realize half the questions are going to be Friends questions though? And she goes, oh yeah, I get that all the time. No worries. So it's like November 13th, I think is the date. So I literally every day I'm coming up with a different Friends question to ask her, and I'm going to choose like the best, like 20 or whatever, and just throw them at her, and then we'll talk about her charity a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. And that's that's a big one. Yeah. I'm going to be sending you the link for that one for sure, because everyone wants to hear that.
Yes, and that will just get you one step closer to Jennifer Aniston.
I was going to say, I'll be like, hey, Jennifer, you know her, and I interviewed her, so yeah, absolutely 100% would be. And for me personally, I get someone like the Kardashians, because if I could actually put them through an actual workout instead of like those celebrities, one of my big pet peeves is those celebrities who post those like 2-pound like curling videos where like getting in shape for my new movie or whatever. It's like, that is not what you're doing, and you're promoting a negative stereotype by making people think that it's that easy. So
that would actually be, dude, training Kim Kardashian. I'm just imagining she's just like on the phone. She's like, what? This is now.
Yeah, that would be, and plus just about the money that would make me do alone. Film it and just release it. Yeah, that would be absolutely something.
It'd be the next porn, right? It'd be the next Kim porn.
Oh yeah, except it'd be workout porn for people. Yeah. So now going on. So what is one item that you always need to have in your fridge?
In my fridge, as of recently, eggs. Mm-hmm. I used to hate eggs, which is so weird. I used to hate them. They're horrible, gross. And now I do this funny thing during prep. I'll eat an omelet everywhere. Like, I would go to a concert and I would just take out an omelet out of my purse and unwrap the foil, and everyone's like, is that a burrito? I was like, oh no, it's an omelet. And so I made a joke of it, and people will still come up to me and they're like, dude, we love your omelet eating. Like, it's so entertaining. Like, I literally everywhere. And people would make fun of me too. They're like, did you just bring an omelet? And I was like, yeah, why is that weird? Like, I brought an omelet. Leave me alone.
What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Ooh, chocolate with chocolate chunks and some more chocolate in there and maybe some peanut butter. So chocolate, peanut butter.
That is a good one. For me, if you get me a Dairy Queen cookie dough blizzard,
Oh my
I'm
God.
yours forever, basically. I limit myself to once a month, once every 2 weeks, usually during the summer. It's one of those things where I need to control myself a little bit more on it. But now this is probably our toughest question that stumps the most people. But what is one item that you would die to have if it went up for auction?
Whoa. Wait. I would die to have if it went up for auction?
Or that you would want to have over anything else. Like, out of all the items in the world, what would be one thing that you would just absolutely love to have if it went up for auction?
Oh my God, that's a hard question. Do I have all the money in the world for it?
Yeah.
Oh. Does it have to be an item or can it be like a thing?
Well,
like
someone did say Channing Tatum, and I was like, that's a whole different topic, but...
Because, yeah, I was going to be like, I don't know, some celebrity. Ooh.
We had one lady that also said, who was also a competitor, said that she wanted an all-diamond bikini to wear to the next competition because said there's no way that the judges wouldn't be able to take their eyes off me. And I said, well, here's the bad thing is that you'd have like an Indiana Jones scenario where like people's faces would melt because of the reflection that would like come off of it. I was like, so pick your own poison. That would not end up being as good as you think it would be. But then we've had other people say like a thing of Titanic or just stuff like that. But is there one item in particular? Or you could even say like a house or anything.
I was thinking about that, but okay, I know. I would want my own beachside personal gym, like the biggest gym ever. And then you walk out and the beach is right there. So you can walk out and go surfing and like tan. And then you go back in the gym and it's like the nicest gym ever. And that's what I would want. Yep.
That is one of the best. That is one of the best answers that we've ever had for that question. Now, what is your favorite fashion trend of all time and least favorite fashion trend of all time?
Okay. Right now, I love fashion. Right now, like the early 90s is so trending. I don't understand where it came from. I love that. I think it's great. I'm like trying to get back into it too. You know, the super like high-waisted weird glasses, like hats and stuff. The one thing I don't like that everyone's been doing is wearing those like side bags.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. I'm not like the biggest fan. Like they look good on some people, but not on me. What's another fashion trend? Oh, at the gym. The people that wear the full-on onesie things, I'm like, it's a very Brazilian thing, I think, because you see it more in Brazil. But I've seen a couple of people wear it at my gym, and I'm like, what are you doing? What's happening here? Like, no, not about that. Especially if it's neon. No.
For me, I'm a huge flannel guy, just because it's kind of the Midwest, and we get really, really cold here, so you got to wear it. So I love flannel. But I gotta say, my least favorite, I hate fanny packs. I'm sorry, especially on the older guys. I don't get it. It's one of those things, but it's not really a fashion trend, but also mullets. If we could bring mullets back, you got to have a good mullet, people. I mean, it's like business in the front, party in the back, Billy Ray Cyrus mullet, something like that.
I'm also a huge crop top fan.
I was just about to say that too. Yep.
If anyone knows me, like I only wear crop tops. Like I always laugh. I'm like, someone look through my Instagram page and find a picture of me where I'm fully clothed because that is not possible. I literally only wear crop tops.
They're still searching to this day.
They're like, I don't know. But when I have to work on a film set, I have to wear, something that covers me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's an exception though. Absolutely. So what is your spirit animal?
Okay, the one I get a lot, I remind people of a squirrel.
Believe it or not, our last guest just said that.
I get because I'm super hyper. So I'll get like you kind of like a squirrel, and I'm like, no, I'm not. But I think I am like a mix of a dog, like a puppy, a happy puppy, or a lion, like Alex the lion.
Oh, yep.
So my parents' dog, which is also my dog, but it doesn't live with me, it's half pit bull, half wiener dog. It's the cutest thing in the world. It's like this long little short thing, but it's super buff, but it's like little, but it's super buff. So that's kind of my spirit animal. Her name is Sydney.
I am also a wolf or any type of dog. We have a Cavalier King Charles mixed with a Bashan Frise. It's just a little like 13-pound dog. But I'm one of those people where if I get invited to your house, I'm spending 95% of it with your dog. I'm sorry. Yeah. If your dog's a cool dog, I'm like, hey, I'll talk to you later, but I'm going to hang out with your dog now for like the next 15 minutes.
Okay, it's funny you say that because me and my friends have a Snapchat group, and you're only allowed to send videos or pictures of mainly puppies, but animals in general, but it's mainly puppies. And I just got a Snapchat from.
What is your favorite breed of dog?
I am a German Shepherd lover. I love German Shepherds or Huskies. So, like, if I could get a German Shepherd Husky mix, I'm set.
Me, I'm a Corgi guy. You give me a little Corgi running around with their little legs. There's a racetrack about a mile from where I live, and once a year they have Corgi races where Corgi owners can bring in their dogs to the racetrack and they have them race. It's probably like a 100-yard race, and it is the cutest thing. And there's like 70 or 80 Corgis that show up, and everyone gets to go and pet them and meet them or whatever. It's one of my favorite days of the year. I'm there for probably like 4 or 5 hours just hanging out with Corgis. Yeah, Corgis for me, yeah, by far, for sure. Now we have a few more questions left in the questionnaire, but... What is one thing that people who follow you on Instagram would be surprised to know about you if they met you in person?
That my hair is really short. Usually I wear extensions, but I just got my hair done today and I'm traveling, so. No, but seriously though, I never wear my hair short, so that's like another big one. What's another thing? Everyone thinks I mean, you should think this, but everyone just thinks I'm this very like innocent, smiley person, which I am. But, I'm kind of edgy and rough sometimes. Like, I used to be a hardcore band photographer. Like, I used to go and shoot bands, like A Day to Remember and stuff like that. Like, random things that people wouldn't know about if they met me today. Stuff like that. It's also because I have very sad eyes. My eyes kind of droop down a little bit, so I look sad all the time. So some people like...
Her eyes hold secrets, everyone.
But, I don't know. I haven't really had too many people... when you meet someone from online and they're not what you expect, I have never really had anyone say that. I usually get people being like, oh, you're exactly how you portray yourself online. I portray myself very just like, blah, like excited all the time, which I am.
She's a bit of fun, everyone. That's what I saw when I first started talking to her. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a great podcast. This girl really would be a really great person to have on. And we can't thank you enough for coming on because it's been very great. Now for our few final questions that we have remaining, I always love to ask this. So if you had the all-knowing power, what would be the one thing that you'd want to change about the sport of bodybuilding?
Ooh, the freaking politics. Oh my God. The politics in bodybuilding are bullshit. Like, honestly, there are some people that are just going to win forever, and there's some people that are not. Like, that is what I would change. I would throw out all politics, but at the same time, what would be the fun of the sport if there isn't a little bit of drama? But, there's certain shows, there are certain, like, production companies that we will not compete in, and it sucks because the one that I hate is in all of like Southern California, and I don't do that. So I have to do shows up in Northern California or elsewhere because I won't do the ones near us. They're bad.
So, like, we've had people on that have said that answer before, but they haven't really explained it. Could you explain to us kind of like the politics? Like, what do you mean exactly by that?
Okay, so for example, the show that's near me, they have a different idea of what they're looking for, and which isn't the standard of all bodybuilding. So let's say this girl, is a little softer and she gets first place, and a girl that's harder, doesn't. And then both of those go to the national show, and then the girl that's harder places higher than this girl that's softer. It really throws her off. And so the show that happens around me, if a majority of the girls look a certain way, which is probably softer, they're going to put those girls as the top 5 versus the girls that actually deserve it. And also the politics involved with that are literally this contest. I will not say the name, but I'm pretty sure people know who I'm talking about. They literally messaged me one time and were like, hey, if you tag us more on Instagram, it might help you out. They literally said that to me. And I was like, are you kidding me? And then someone I know, he was like, oh, I know the judges, so that might help me. I was like, cool. I hated every time he said that because cool. Since you know the judges, does it matter what I look like then, So that's the politics behind it.
That is ridiculous. I mean, it should just be, for me personally, they should just have not machines, but automated ruling or whatever, where they just look at your body and they just judge it based on how you look, not on the external factors. And you get that with everything. But yeah, with bodybuilding too, I was super surprised to hear all about that because everyone does. A lot of the answers are politics. But me personally, if I could change one thing about it, I would just change it where like we had a bodybuilder on here who came in at 2% body fat when she was at her competition.
That's insane.
And she's like, yeah, I got into a car crash because of my mind just wasn't, I couldn't concentrate just because I'm just so low on energy and everything. It wasn't that bad of a car crash, but still, it's like I would come up with a thing where like I know it would never be mandated because it would be almost impossible to track, but just a body fat percentage that people would have to take before they show up. And if you're like get under like 5% or like 6% or something like that.
See, that's hard.
Yeah. I know. Then but it's like, because it also promotes this image that like people think that look, like we kind of talked about earlier, people think that look is sustainable and that look is a look that they should strive for when they don't realize that it's all manipulation. It's all an illusion too, with the tanning and the posing. It's just, and I've heard this so many times where people are like talking about all these bodybuilders that they meet in person, and then they're like, oh, they don't look anything like they looked like in the photos or whatever like that. It's like, oh, they look different, they look whatever. So it's like people just have this idea where I would just change it. I mean, I know people go there for the aesthetics, they go there for how people look, but also to make it healthier for the competitors, because you hear all these stories of people dying at like 30 years old from like heart failure, or people dying from everything just because
performance enhancement.
Well, yeah, I know, but then it would like sort of make it so that they wouldn't have to. I know, but people will always be willing to go to the extremes. But
the other thing too is based on different girls' sizes, because there's a girl I know who's a professional bodybuilder, but she is tiny. So when she got her body fat percent tested, it was 3%, and she looked shredded, but she was doing okay. Versus me, like the lowest I ever got was 13%, but I am bigger, I'm tall, so like I honestly could probably never go below 10% personally. Like I would be too lean, and that actually would hurt me. So I don't know, being that low is probably not good unless it's like you're that tiny, but you can never really mandate it because everyone's body's so different. That's the issue.
Now, me being 6'3" myself and you being tall, we know the struggle of what it's like to put on muscle being tall. What has that been like for you?
Actually, I'm not that tall. I'm only 5'6", so actually putting on muscle hasn't been the hardest. It's actually getting the weight off of my legs because I am so tall. My legs just have a lot there, and I don't have like skinny legs. Like I have a naturally tiny waist, which helps me in bodybuilding. I get compliments on it all the time, but everyone has, their positive and everyone has their negative, and everyone, you know what I mean? Like I have a tiny waist, but huge legs, versus other girls have like little legs, but then they have to like go down their waist. So everyone's got their own issues, but building muscle is actually pretty easy for me. It's cutting my legs down, which is the hardest part.
And now our last question out of the questionnaire part is, if you could go back and talk to the 18-year-old version of yourself, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give her?
Oh my God. It would just be like, shut up and just wait till what's going to happen. Because when I was 18, I was like, what was I doing? What was I in high school? I was in high school. Oh my God. When I was 18, I was just like, I want to party, and like, I don't know where I'm going to go to college. And it's like, just you wait to see where that's going to end up. Because like, I think my biggest thing right now is, like I had to take a step back from doing freelance work, and I got a new job as an executive assistant, but I was talking with my roommate, and you got to take like 3 steps back to move like 20 steps forward. So that's what I'm doing right now. You just have to be patient is basically what I would tell my 18-year-old self. Be patient. You'll get there.
Absolutely. And if someone were to walk up to you on the street and just say, like obviously like, oh my God, you look amazing, I want to start adapting a more healthy and fit lifestyle, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give them in order for them to be successful in their journey?
I always tell them, go to If It Fits Your Macros. It's all nutrition. Like, you can work out all you want, but if you're not properly fueling your body with the right nutrition, you're just going to keep going in circles. So I always tell people to go to If It Fits Your Macros to check it out. And then my favorite response back is they go, oh, it is all nutrition. I hate that you had to say that. And I was like, well, that's that, you know what I mean? Like, but I always tell people, I'm like, look, like start small, like eat once or twice a week out instead of every day out, like drink a gallon of water instead of 1 glass that you think you're drinking. You know what I mean? Like just start small.
And now you do live in a particular part of the country that is known for being hot and just perfect weather year round. I mean, I'm up in Minnesota where it's 35 degrees right now. And we have a saying up in Minnesota where it's, you only got to look good 6 months out of the year because the other 6 months you're in a sweater anyway. So you really got to, only put into it. I mean, it'll get to negative 25, negative 30 during January up here. So one of the things that I love to ask people who are from the colder climates is, what are ways that people or motivation that you use to stay in shape? But for you, being that it's like perfect weather all year round, do you ever feel that extra added pressure knowing that like you kind of have to almost look good year round if you want to go to the beach all the time, if you want to do all that. So have you found that to be a struggle, knowing that, since it's going to be great weather all the time, you kind of got to look the part all the time?
It's not that I just live in California. I live in Los Angeles. Literally, I moved here about a year and a half ago from San Diego. And in San Diego, I could look like a little, beach bum, just like whatever. When you move to LA, you gotta look good because you never know what you're gonna see. And so that is hard because it's exactly like the magazines, oh, that celebrity gained weight. And so it's even more pressure for a bodybuilder because we portray ourselves like, oh, look, we're competition lean. And then when someone sees us like 3 months later, they're like, you gained weight. You're like, no, I gained back proper weight, but like, you just haven't seen me in a while. So that's the hard part. But yeah, I don't find like too much pressure having to stay in shape year round. I mean, it gets kind of cold here. I'll wear a sweater eventually, but during the summer, at least, I try to cut down just because like there is so much going on in LA.
And you said that before that you work out at Gold Gym. What was that like the first time stepping in there? Because like I said, that's like the Mecca. That's where Arnold trained. I mean, when you look at the sport of bodybuilding, that is the place to be. What was that experience like for you?
I worked out there with friends the first couple times, so it was like less intimidating. And then I decided to get a gym membership. And I remember going a couple times myself. Like, honestly, it wasn't as intimidating because I've already done bodybuilding shows and I already like look the part essentially, but like I already knew what I was doing. But if I went to that gym like 2 years ago, I would have looked like an idiot. I would have been like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it is intimidating. I've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger there. Like, I've seen everyone there. Yeah, I've seen Arnold there at like 6 a.m. It was kind of unreal. He walked by me and I was like, that's the governor. Like,
did you tell him to get to the chopper or anything like that?
No, I kind of just froze and I was like, what? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Yeah, he would be probably one of the guys that I would just love to get a workout in. And again, you guys, Alex Drachnik, we highly recommend you go and check her out. I'll leave all the links to all of her stuff down below. And before we wrap things up here, I always like to ask these 2 final questions to every single guest that I have on here. In 1 year from now, what is your vision like of where you'll be in life?
Oh, man. 2 years ago, I didn't know I was going to be here, but I hope in a year I'm placing top 5 at shows and I'm traveling for bodybuilding because that would be really cool. Just like I never thought I would be doing this a lot more in my career than I am now. So that's where I'm hoping I'm at.
So if you weren't in the sport of bodybuilding, where do you think your life would have taken you? What do you think you'd be doing right now?
Ooh, I might have followed my ex to Oregon. I might have, honestly, my ex-boyfriend moving to Oregon is what motivated me to move to LA because I was like, well, if you're going to follow your dream, I got to follow mine. If I was in bodybuilding, I think I might be a little bit more invested in working in film and I wouldn't have gotten a lot of opportunities that I had been offered. But who knows? It might have been a different route. I might have been farther along in a freelance world than I am now. So you never know.
It's all about, just taking chances. And it's also about one of the big things that I always like to impart on every guest. I mean, even though they already probably know this, is that one of the things that I've discovered from doing this podcast is that people are generally nice and they're generally willing to help you out. So just be nice back to them. Don't be a dick. If you're nice, you can go so far in life. And it's just be nice, be kind to everyone. And like you said, you never know when you're going to run into someone, or like I say for every guest, I never judge a guest based on before they come in because I was like, hey, maybe this guest has connections that would really help me out. I never know. So it's always treat everyone nice because you never know. Some person that you really, really like might be friends with that person, and that might be a whole different thing. So you always got to make sure that you treat everyone with respect and be super nice. And again, everyone, Alex Drachnik, we can't appreciate her enough for coming on the show. She was a great guest.
Yeah.
Everyone, go follow her YouTube. Go follow her on social media. You will enjoy it. And I always say, follow her on social media. It will inspire you to put down those Twinkies and to go to the gym to get a little bit more exercise in there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, absolutely. And again, we can't thank her enough for coming on the show. And is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Shout out to BSN Supplements. Love those guys. I work with them all the time. The whole team, like, they're honestly like the people that have supported me the most. So shout out to them.
All right. Shout out to
and shout out to just my family and friends and everyone for like supporting me through this crazy hobby or career I'm now doing. So yeah. And shout out to the host.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And again, we cannot appreciate having her on the show. We can't really, put into words how great it was to have her on. She is such a great guest, as you can already tell. And her YouTube channel is even more of that type of stuff. So if you really enjoyed this, go ahead and follow her on YouTube. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the Spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.